Greetings. Welcome to Parks and Conversation, Episode 2. Today we are going to be discussing our rewatch of Season 1, Episode 2, Canvassing. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by my longtime friend, Jeremy. Say hello, Jeremy.
Hello.
Well, hello to you, sir. So, it's been a long time since I've gone back to watch this particular episode, and it was rough.
Yeah, it was rough. It was. I feel like, though, I don't know, something that I wanted to talk about today, specifically on a very important episode of Parks and Conversation, is just how rough it didn't seem to me, actually. Only because I remember when it first came out, like we talked about in the last episode, I was like, this show's really bad. Upon further review, I didn't find it as bad as I remembered. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. Just because maybe it's because where these characters are going, and I just remember coming out of The Office, you really wanted that. It felt like it was trying to be too much like The Office, and knowing where it ends up, it's like, hey, we got to start somewhere. So I think I gave it a lot more latitude. But yeah, I don't know. What did you think?
Well, I agree with that feeling as it was being released, expecting to be running on all cylinders, just a laugh a minute, and everything would be great. Because The Office was this came out in 2009, and The Office was at that point just knocking it out of the park, and it was same creative team and so many good things. But I think that knowing where the characters go, like, I'm on board. But the pacing right now of the programs, every episode is just like, oh, this is taking forever.
Agreed. Yeah.
And that is, I think, the biggest challenge. And The Office had those moments where it was taking forever. And so I don't know if maybe I'm looking at Parks and Rec thinking how good it's going to get, and it's making me like the first season even less.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so that's part of my challenge. And I watched this episode with the kids, and their response to me was, does it get better? I have to say yes. Yes, it does.
Just hang in there. See, everybody feels it. Yeah, I think The Office was, it was designed to kind of be that slower kind of, cringy pace a little bit. And then it picked up after a while. It moved away and got into its own. It moved away from the English version or the British version. And so I think Parks and Rec kind of felt like it was still trying to be in that formula, but also wanted to be its own thing. So they were really trying to figure it out. And I think Canvassing was definitely one of those, clunkier episodes.
Yeah, agree. I do love how this one starts, though. The cold open is for an Easter egg hunt, which is something that parks and recreation departments do all the time. And I love that it was very difficult to find these eggs.
A little too difficult.
Yeah. My most recent Easter egg experience was not even a hunt. They just rectangled off areas of a field per age group, and they just threw eggs out in the field. And then they just decided, okay, go get them. So it was basically like prep for litter pickup. Just go get it. And that was the whole hunt. And so this one is like, man, they really got to look.
Yeah, or it was like a WWE Royal Rumble. It's just like last kid standing gets all the eggs. I think that's the way Easter should be.
I think that's what Jesus would want. Yeah. And I do love the reveal that the reason the eggs are so hard to find is because Tom forgot to put any out.
Classic Tom.
And I love that. It is a very good reveal of Tom's character. Like, yeah, I didn't do that. And he's not going to do it. He's not going to try to fix it. He's just like, that didn't happen.
Nor is he going to claim that he messed up. Like, the last shot of it is just him looking over at Leslie's shoulder, just kind of looking at the camera going, nope, they're not out there. and yet Leslie's still hopeful. It's like, hey, this is hard. It's a challenge, but we're going to find them. That's right. Again, that's just her character.
Right. The contrast between Leslie and everyone else in the parks department. Yeah. She's like, we can do this and we're going to do it. And I love that. So So the whole guiding motivation for this episode is ultimately try to get the community on board with the park, and to try to get them to buy in to this project. And so Leslie starts by going to visit her mom, Marla Briggs Nope, who is a big deal.
Yeah.
And like she is a mover and a shaker in Pawnee. And the dynamic between Leslie and her mom, I think, is really great too throughout the show. They use her sparingly, which is, I think, is kind of funny because they work in the same building, but they don't see each other, or they don't talk to each other very often. And so I think it's weird, but I think they do employ mom at just the right time. And so she goes to visit her mom to try to like get her mom's approval.
Right.
Which is, I think, one of the things about her whole dynamic is like, I really want my mom to be proud of me.
Right.
No matter what she's doing. Like I want my mom to say that I did a good job. That's it. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, but because her mom is going to be an interesting character moving forward, and especially with other relationships that Leslie will have in the future. But here, she does seem withholding.
Yeah, and I feel like that part of it, though, from the writer's standpoint, to not use her a lot was smart, because I'm sure that was the whole arc in the beginning. It was just the approval, and I think that joke would get old real quick if she just kept coming back for approval. Like, it would make Leslie's character feel really, really needy if they did it too many times. And until they could develop the mom a little bit more, they didn't really use her a lot in the opening, season or so. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she goes, tells her mom. Mom's like, wow, mom seems less than whelmed at this point. She's like, okay, this is your job, so whatever. And so then they say, all right, let's go out there. Let's get the word out. Let's go canvassing. And Leslie, always prepared. And this is really one of the first times we see her level of preparation is her script that she has made for the canvassing efforts, to go out and if citizen is a male, turn to this page. If they are, in the military, turn to this page, or whatever. She's got it all figured out, which like makes you wonder, like, how does Leslie have the time to do any of these things and her job? But she gives everybody a thing and they start doing it, and the canvassing does not go well. And she was warned, hey, don't, it's too early to really put this thing together. By Mark Brandanowitz, and yet she moves ahead because she's a dreamer, she's a believer.
Right, there is nothing that is going to get in her way for doing the things that she wants to do, which will come to bite her many times in this show.
Sure.
Oh man, I was looking for I found the trivia on IMDb, and I was looking for anyway. But Morgan, one of the characters, as they're talking about it, it's like, well, I live nearby. Is this park going to be 1,000 feet from my house? And, because he is a predator, he's on the list. He can't live close to children. And I feel like they did a really good job with that joke in particular of saying, like, this is what's going on. And unless like, you're not going to get it, like the rules about these kinds of things, unless you've been exposed to these like mailers that you get when you move into a neighborhood. Like it was good because my kids had no idea like what was going on with Morgan. Like they did like, that's weird.
Well, even Mark,
can't live up.
Yeah. And even Mark kind of like, he just says, April, get behind me.
Right.
It's like even April's kind of like, what? And it's like, okay, no, Mark knows what's up. And yeah. Mark is worldly. He is worldly. And I think this also, something that just kind of popped into my head, it comes up over and over again, is that Pawnee is actually kind of, and later they really, really bring it out, but Pawnee's kind of the worst. And they just, all the characters, all the problems, all the stuff. It's like, why would you want to try to help all of these terrible people and this town that obviously doesn't care much about anything? And it gets reflected over and over again in all these little bits. And yet still, it just shows how hopeful Leslie is. She's like, it doesn't matter. There are no lost causes. So I love that. It's like, yeah, these people just are roaming around the streets. Here's one of them.
Right. And they're just not good folk.
Yeah, they even know that they're not. Like, he's just like, hey, I know I can't be within 1,000 feet. Is that going to be a problem?
Yeah, he's very open about it. Yeah. By the way, I'm a sex offender. Please don't isolate that audio ever. So it's not going well, and Tom just runs away. Yeah. Which I love. And like April and Mark are left there while Tom's running away, and he's like jumping over the uneven sidewalks along the street. Mm-hmm. And they both just like, he runs weird. Yeah. So I don't know if that's going to be an ongoing thing for Tom to run weird, but yeah, they both note that. And so he's gone, and he leaves to make phone calls, which we see him do in a little bit. But then Ron is back in his office, still wearing a suit.
It's true.
And he's still very formal, Ron. And the city manager, Paul, comes in. This is the first time we meet city manager Paul. And he comes in and he's like, hey, heard about this project. You fast track this, right? And Ron, as we learned last week, doesn't want to do anything, wants to privatize, check the whole park system. He has not fast tracked anything. And so he's like, oh, great. Now we got to do this. But as Paul is leaving, he's like, and Paul comes in, and this is the first time and probably the only time you ever see Ron afraid of a male in the office.
Yeah, it's one of the few mistakes he really makes there are a couple times throughout the seasons where they show his, fallibility, but yeah, he definitely is just like, what? No, I didn't say anything.
Right. Yeah. He's almost always the alpha in every interaction. And this is like one of the rare times in dealing with another male coworker where he was not like instantly like, no, I'm running this thing. I'm mm-hmm. in charge. So again, I think they're still trying to figure out Ron at this point. The Bobby Knight poster was still in the background.
That's true.
So
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later.
Okay. And then, so they're canvassing, and Anne and Leslie, they are going, and they walk up to a lady who is very much against the park. And
Kate Spivak.
Yes, Kate Spivak. And Leslie is trying to get people to respond in a way that she's manipulating them using Karl Rove tactics. Would you say that you're very much in favor of a park or against a park? Against. Would it change your mind if all the meth heads said that they were also against the park? What? So she's manipulating the crowd, and Kate Spivak is aware of this. She's like, I'm not going to fall for this, and so she's very much against it, and like, I'm going to come to your meeting just to throw you down.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those times that Leslie's, just her exuberance kind of bites her, because she had an out. The lady said no, everything was good, and then she pushes one time just too hard, and that's when she ticks this lady off, and then she's like, "Yeah, I will come now, but it's not going to be in the way that you want." Right,
and it's interesting as they like develop these dynamics of like politics and work and all of these things. Like, there is a way to like win people over. Mm-hmm. And Leslie has no idea how to win people over.
No. Like, Leslie's very socially awkward. Yeah. Yeah.
And I can see why people would be, as they're watching these first few episodes, like, if Leslie is the star of this show, why would I want to keep watching it?
Right. She's clueless.
She's like, Michael Scott was clueless, but like, we had an understanding. If you watch the British Office, we had an understanding of what this could be,
right?
And who the manager ultimately like becomes. But Leslie is an unknown quantity, and she is terrible. She's just the worst in so many ways. And she doesn't really win; she just mm-hmm. manipulates.
Right.
So yeah, so stick with it. It gets better. It gets better. Leslie's not always awful.
Yeah, because if you don't watch the later episodes, this podcast won't make any sense.
Right. Especially if you like download all of them, and then you're like, I'm ready to go, but no, I'm done. I can't handle Leslie. She's terrible. Stick with it. It does get better. And I do love when Anne and Leslie go back to Anne's house. Mark and April have given up canvassing, and they're playing Rock Band 2 with Andy. I love that because nobody cares as much as Leslie.
It's true.
And then it cuts to a talking head where we hear more about Leslie's dreams. Her dream is to build a park to visit with her White House staff on her birthday.
Yeah.
Yes, that'll all happen. Take my White House staff to this park that I built in small town Indiana on my birthday. Totally worth it.
Sure.
Why not? And again, Leslie is overwhelmed. The canvassing went terrible, so she tries to cancel the meeting, and Ron's like, no, Paul wants us definitely to push it through. And then it cuts away to Tom, who is just totally schmoozing with the different contractors who could help build the park.
Right.
And so when you think about Tom as a flake and somebody who's not going to do a good job, here he is actually trying to like make it happen his way.
Right.
And building relationships, and it's still sleazy. It's like, I'll do this, you can do this, maybe you can do me a favor later. And as we have learned in American government, that could be an abuse of power, to be determined in the next few days as we're recording this.
Quid pro quo, correct? Is that the term?
Yes, which is Latin for this, for that.
Oh,
so many things we're learning. So many things.
And that's great that Tom, I mean, he does have motivations as long as it benefits himself. And we'll learn so much, like how selfish Tom really is. But what is smart about these characters, and this is why watching a series like this is so much fun, especially when you know how it ends, is that his arc, he never completely loses it, but he realizes kind of how to channel that down the road, which ultimately helps him out. So just pointing things like this out early on, he's kind of the worst. Like all of these people are so flawed in the beginning, but it's seeing how they change over the seasons. I think that's what makes watching these shows so much fun. Yeah.
And, seeing their ups and downs along the way. Mm-hmm. Their transformation. And, knowing how Tom ends his arc, it's just so funny because he's all about appearance and he's all about wanting to look successful.
Right.
And so here he is, as the town forum happens, like he's bringing all these contractors in and it looks like he is successful. He's doing the job.
Right.
And so you can see like, oh, okay, what you're doing is kind of working, but then the forum happens and the town is not on board. My favorite is Andy's neighbor, Lawrence, who gets up and is like, I know that guy. Because Andy is on the stage as like the victim of the pit. And as they're trying to repair it, they want to see like, this is the danger that we have if we leave this pit exposed.
He's the symbol.
Yeah, he's a symbol. And so Lawrence gets up and he's like, I know that guy. He plays his music way too loud and it's waking up my birds. And I love that, like, it cuts away to Andy. He's like, yeah, that guy, he lives with his grandma. Takes care of her. It's cool, I guess. Lawrence is actually a good dude. Yeah. And Andy's terrible. And it's like, no, I guess he's okay. And Lawrence will come back.
It's true.
In future episodes. Also, fun fact, Lawrence and Chris Pratt are in Jurassic World together.
Yes.
And so that was when I saw Jurassic World, that made me laugh. I was like, hey, Lawrence is here. How was his birds?
Is Owen still playing his music too loud? That's what woke up the dinosaurs.
Oh, right. Yeah. Owen. I forgot that Chris Pratt's character's name in Jurassic World is Owen, which is a weird name. Like, it doesn't sound heroic, but it should be like...
Blade McSteel.
Yes. Why wouldn't it be? That's a perfect Andrew Dwyer name for an action star.
Yeah.
Blade McSteel. Oh man, we're going to learn so many characters about Andy Dwyer. It'll be so good. Yeah, so Lawrence is upset. And then Andy also, at this point, gives another band name. So last time it was Scarecrow Boat. This time, the band's name is Just the Tip. Mm-hmm. And that's all it is. And they just keep moving. Crowd is very much against the project. They take a break. Ron comes up to Leslie and says, "It is not going well at all." And so Leslie's strategy is a brilliant strategy. She just wants to run out the clock because the meeting's only supposed to go till 9 o'clock. And so she's going to filibuster her own meeting. Having been in meetings that have gone not the way I want them to, I've had those moments where, like, if I can just keep talking, maybe everybody will leave.
Do you also carry a copy of the Phantom Toll Booth with you in case of emergency? No.
I've never actually read that book.
Oh, it's very good.
I hear it's good.
Yeah.
And as I saw the Phantom Toll Booth, it gave me an idea. Maybe someday, as a part of the Parks and Conversation or the It's a Sure Thing universe, or however we're going to be talking about this, we do a book club with only the books that are referenced in the shows from, Parks and Rec, The Office, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But then it got me thinking, like, what are these books? And all I can think about are
Twilight
and Twilight.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to do that.
Pass.
I don't want to read either of those, really.
Yeah.
But
fun fact: the Phantom Toll Booth is actually the prequel to the Phantom Menace. So
no way.
It's all canon. Oh,
well, then I got to read it. It's something I just have to do. All right. So she's filibustering her own meeting. And it's still not going well. And so she calls on April, who's in the audience as a plant. And April just introduces herself as, "I'm a youth from the community."
Yeah, a youth.
And here's April again. Like, she does really not care at all about this job. She's an intern, and Leslie just brings her along because Leslie sees in April all of the power of feminism. And this will come out in, I believe the next episode is going to be even more like revealing about Leslie's like feminist passion. And so here's like a young person starting out in government as an intern who doesn't care, but Leslie believes that she can transform her, which is, again, another sign of Leslie's optimism and stubbornness.
Yeah, and cluelessness, because one of the things that's funny, even with April's character, is just how out of touch people are in this show, because Leslie thinks that April is going to, be this, exuberant, youthful, and April is talking like even she thinks someone who cares would talk. I am a youth. Like, no, who talks like that? Even the youthful person doesn't talk like that. So it's just all, cluelessness down the line. It's great.
Which is another band name that Andy has. Cluelessness down the line. Sounds like it could be, but man, I'm really looking forward to I believe it's the last episode in this season. So episode 6, Andy gives a whole list of band names. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that because they're so good. So Leslie's ploy of having a plant in the audience gets found out by Katie Spivak. And she's like, "I know you. You were with them." It was a very Peter at the fire the night that Jesus was arrested moment. Right. I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know Jesus. And so April gets found out, and then everybody starts to it gets worse and worse and worse. And so Leslie finally just says, "All right, everybody, line up. Tell me all your complaints." And that was, again, her motivation was to keep people from voting on this whole idea, and to run out the clock. And so she listened to people yell at her, or as last episode talked about, caring very loudly, yell at her for the rest of the meeting. and then called it at 9:00.
Yeah, during this whole, and again, I love these montage sequences. It's just this person after person coming up and yelling at her while she's talking to the camera about the hopes and dreams and all the stuff that could happen. And then also Rashida Jones, I believe, comes in and says, "Man, that was brutal." Just last week or whatever, I was on the other side of that. I was the one yelling at her, and I like that little bit that they put in there, because that's us at the same time, like switching sides a little bit, saying, "Hey, government is so frustrating," but now you see just the abuse that these people can take when they're trying to do very simple things. So I like that bit with Rashida. That was good.
Yeah. So time runs out. She calls it. People are upset. Hey, we didn't get to vote. And she's like, well, time's over. So time to go. Which is the win of this meeting.
Right.
Nothing actually happened, but the meeting happened. And
a vote didn't happen, right? Like, right. That's the win.
Yeah, she went in on the offense and then immediately realized the only way to win is defense. I have to keep the people from wanting to do anything.
And the look that her mom gives her, in that she knows what she did, like how bad this was, but the fact that she kind of pulled it out at the end, like figured out a way to not lose, was like, hey, okay, well, maybe there's some hope for you yet as a political force.
It was a weird look, though. Like, it was just like staring and a slight nod.
Yeah.
And it was ambiguous enough where it's like, are you proud of her, or are you just like, I don't know?
Oh, I took it. I took it as she was a little bit surprised, like a little like, yeah, I see what you did. I don't know. That's the way I took it. Maybe I'm too optimistic. I don't know.
I'm going to go with your read. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather live in that universe.
There you go.
So, because it's good. And so Leslie gives a kind of a summation of the whole experience, talking about how, it didn't go well. And then Lawrence comes up and says, as everybody's leaving, he says, "Hey, Park Lady, you suck." But Leslie lights up, and she says, "You hear that? He called me Park Lady."
Yeah.
Her identity is so wrapped up in this job that as soon as the public sees her as the Park Lady, it's like, yes, validation.
Right.
Which is not a healthy way to live, Leslie, but we'll let you have it this time. So, and then it cuts to Tom saying, "This book is awesome," talking about Phantom Tollbooth. End of episode.
Yeah.
And again, a surprising turn for Tom. It does not seem like a book that Tom would read. But he did.
Later on, Tom starts to read stuff, and his world gets opened up. So just through the power of reading, it's great. Right.
I learned in 3rd grade from our library class that when I was handed a value of reading promoting bookmark with The Simpsons on it, that said, "Reading is fundamental." And since then, I've been a big advocate for reading. Mm-hmm. And I'm just really glad that Tom is doing that as well. Anyway, yeah, so that's episode 2 of season 1, Canvassing. Again, we're learning more about the people of Pawnee and the people of the Parks Department. Mm-hmm. We still have not seen too much from Jerry or Retta, or Donna, played by Retta. Mm-hmm. And they will make bigger impact in the coming episodes. But yeah, we're just kind of fleshing out the government and the people, that the main players. And so that is one of the nice things that I think they're doing in this first season, is they are not telling you anything about the people, the side characters. They just exist.
Right.
Which would be the case of every city. You don't know everybody in your city.
Right.
You exist among them. And so they're doing a good job of helping you get a picture of Pawnee. And as you said, it's full of the worst people.
Yeah.
And, but it's home.
That's right.
And, Leslie loves this city and wants the best for it. So, well, did you find any trivia or anything else? We did the synopsis, but was there anything that you wanted to make sure that we shared with our listener?
The small bits were this is the only episode in I believe the entire series that Jerry, played by Jim O'Heir, isn't in the episode, like in this episode at all, not even seen, for I don't know why, but yeah. And then also this was slated to be episode 3, and they switched it with the next one, The Reporter. So you could listen to the podcast episode 3 or 2, and it still might make sense. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because last night I watched both episodes with the kids, 2 and 3. And I could not imagine them being in a different order.
Yeah.
That would be weird.
Maybe in a different universe. I don't know.
Yeah. A real sliding doors situation. Yeah, cool. Any other...
How about you? What do you... anything you found?
There wasn't too much. I do love that the forum looks like it's back in that elementary school, which is helpful. Again, as this show's starting out, they probably didn't have a lot of budget room to get to different places. So I wonder if they were just like, let's just record both of these on the same day.
Yeah.
It was directed by Seth Gordon. I know that much because I'm looking at the IMDb page. I don't know what else Seth Gordon has done.
He did Pixels.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I never saw that.
The King of Kong.
The King of Kong?
King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. Yeah.
That is one of the best documentaries I have ever seen.
Very, very good. Yeah, go watch it. One other bit of trivia I just remembered is that Tom's whole kind of sleazy bribery phone calls was all ad-libbed. And at first, Gordon and Daniels and Schur weren't quite, they didn't know if that would be, they thought, oh man, that's going to make him look really bad. Turns out the test audience, the reaction was, I mean, that's kind of what we thought government officials did anyway, so it's fine. which I loved. It's like, it fits. So
sounds about right.
Yeah.
One more quote from Leslie as she's running out the filibuster. They can't touch you if you talk forever.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. Well, okay.
So good.
I don't know. I mean, these are 22-minute episodes, and we've gone 33 minutes. So
perfect.
I think we've given people more than enough time to contemplate on this second episode of Parks and Recreation. So next week, we're going to be looking at The Reporter, and we're going to meet the press of Pawnee, a small town in Indiana that I believe has one reporter, one newspaper reporter, one TV reporter, and one daytime talk show.
And yet they have two newspapers that we know of, and I believe 3 television stations. So, right. it's don't think about it too much.
Yeah, it will only boggle the mind. And so we'll learn more about Mark. We'll learn more about the press. We'll learn more about the pit. And Andy even comes into more in the next episode. So, characters keep growing, and it's going to be a fun ride. So, with all that, I mean, I guess we're done, right?
Yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Well, then, Jeremy, I'll talk to you later, and enjoy your Parks and Rec.
Sounds good. You too. Talk to you later.